you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Ay, 12 can't really stop shit, so I'm still pushing like a mosh pit. Ice dripping, think I'm hot shit. In a yellow bucket with the mop stick. I've been jugging jams like wholesale. Everything must go sell. Hitting bitches with the oh well. Need 100 million on the low scale. On my worst night, I'm the best nigga. Wouldn't mess with you, couldn't cap to him. Homie spotted me like 700, brought 1100 right back to him. If I can't do it, then it ain't real. I just make dollars, I don't make deals. I've been going hard in the paint, still blowing cushion clouds till I can't feel like. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in that wonderful technicolor rainbow in between, welcome to tonight's coverage of the Titan Esports Immortal League. The weather's heating up as we start moving into spring, and so are the standings. I'm What Birdie, and joining me tonight, as per usual, my lovely casting partner this season, it's Ozzy. How you doing tonight, Ozzy?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on again, of course, and hopefully you're doing well yourself. You know, you missed last week, but you're back.
The week before last.
Oh, I mean... Okay,
we
look,
were
my
talking
timeline
about
is
this before
all
the
messed up.
broadcast.
My timeline is all messed up, and I don't pay attention. Shame on me, because I'm locked into League of Legends. My bad. Actually, I was locked into Roblox, but that doesn't matter.
Hopefully you're locked in on the standings for this particular
I
week,
am.
because this matchup, as we cross over the halfway line, we're into week 5 now. It's final boss. I always forget the second half of the name. Koney Island, thank you. And Menthol Light, a team that we have seen before. But this is a very standings implicative matchup. We have a team that is just on the cusp of that playoff lock versus a team that is really trying to fight for that playoff spot. They're about one spot across in the standings in between match score and game score. There's a good chance, as you saw in the Discord announcement, if you're already in the Titan Esports Discord, you really should be if you're not. A winner of this week most likely gets a chance to lock playoffs, and the loser of this week, there's a decent chance that they can end up losing it. As we said in week 1 and have said every single week, every single match matters.
Yeah, every single match matters, and of course, usually the start of the split tends to matter a little bit less. Again, every game matters, you know, you always want to win. But usually that's kind of like your figure your stuff out week. By this point, your stuff should be figured out. So hopefully here, for both teams, right? They have their play styles figured out. They have their synergy down, and they start showing us their real ceilings here. Because again, as we do get closer to playoffs, all teams are paying attention. It's not like teams are like, especially the teams who are going to be competing, who really do pay attention, that they're going to be looking. They're going to be like, hey, this team is really weak around getting these dragons, which has been such an impactful part of the season. So if you're really weak around dragon setups and not getting early dragons, and you're losing soul in 80% of your games, that will get punished. Teams are going to pick up on that because, as it turns out, you do get streamed, so they will watch your matches. I promise you they will. They also know who you are. They probably played against you a whole bunch of times because with plenty of names here that are all very common in M600, you know, so they definitely have played with each other, against each other quite a few times. So they also kind of know, like on a player level, like what they're good at, what they're not so good at. But as a team, it really comes down to what they have figured out for themselves and how well they can also adjust. Because one of the biggest factors of playing on a Thursday is you have to deal with new patches, which came in today.
Yes, 2605. A lot of different changes, most of them pro skewed, a couple of minor tweaks here and there. The biggest one that came out to me that we have had discussions about off camera was the Varus nerfs that came through. They really tacked down his Q damage, but they also added some extra on-hit damage on his W scaling with your bonus AD now. So maybe on-hit Varus is a little bit better, but as I've heard from you, apparently Poke Varus is doing just fine.
Yeah, I mean, it looks bad on paper. I mean, it is bad, don't get me wrong, but
it's a hefty nerf.
You have to think, right? He was at such a high that this nerf, while it looks really bad, still keeps him fine. Like, also, Poke Varus is just good in general. Like, as long as his Q is able to do even 400, 500 damage, which it's doing above that, by the way, just so we're aware, but even if it was doing that much damage, that's still meaningful poke, and the arrow pierces. So if you hit frontline, it's not something like an Ezreal, where a frontline can take it and take like 100 damage. It pierces, right? Even though it does reduce damage based on the amount of people it pierces, it still does decent damage and does have the pierce. So you do need to consider that, yes, while it did get nerfed, it's still really strong. You still have the utility of Varus. It's not like that's going away. You still have what, in my opinion, has been one of the sole reasons why Poke Varus has been good, and that's his Blight stacks. Blight stacks have not been changed. In fact, that's the sole reason, in my opinion, why it is so strong so consistently, because you have Blight stacks. With your ultimate, it gives you free 3 Blight stacks. You land that, you WQ someone for over half of their HP, no matter what, at any stage of the game, especially if they're squishy. So maybe Riot needs to nerf Blight Stacks a little bit here for Varus instead of because for on-hit Varus, right, he only actually cares about auto-attacking to get the Blight Stacks, not proccing the Blight Stacks. But for both his AP build and also the poke build, they actually want to proc the Blight Stacks to get that damage done. So I think um, I think that overall, that poke Varus should still be fine. Probably we'll see a little bit less priority across the board because again, a lot of people are going to knee-jerk reaction this. They're going to be like, "Oh, Varus is not that great."
They're gonna do what I did.
I think it's the same thing as like when Yunara lost the move speed on her E a long time ago at this point. And everyone had this knee-jerk reaction like, "Oh, Yunara's gonna be bad," but in fact, she was still the most picked AD carry. And then she's got 3 more nerfs after the fact and was still the highest picked AD carry.
And he's still, even after the nerfs, pretty darn good,
It's
yeah.
still good now. So just as an FYI, it's really easy to knee-jerk over big changes because you're like, oh, big number change, like, oh, this has to be bad. But if you play around with it, it still feel fine. You're doing like 700 damage an arrow when you're like at good spike of your build, so I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah, I think especially combining that with the hubris buff that came through this patch, reducing the combined cost and the total cost of the item by 200 gold is a significant amount for an item that already wasn't super expensive. And with all of the buffs that lethality items have been receiving over time, Serpent's Fang being a item that is good not only just in utility, but also just as a good lethality item now, decent AD, decent lethality on it. Umbral Glaive being arguably one of the best lethality items right now, which feels very strange to say. Huber's now competing for that spot with the 2,800 gold cost. It feels like these poke champions in the bottom lane might start to become more of a problem, and maybe even we see that stretch out. Maybe assassins in the jungle, AD assassins in the mid lane. Maybe we see a Zed here and there. Who knows?
Yeah. Speaking of jungle, Lee Sin did get buffed, and I think before this buff he was
Scary.
pretty good. Of course, now caveat is it's Lee Sin. You have to have so many hours on this champion because, as it turns out, team fighting with this champ is actually very hard because most teams know exactly what you're wanting to do, which is get a kickoff onto an important member. So a lot of people are really good at like finding the flanking Lee Sin, finding, you know, kind of preventing those angles from happening, which makes him very difficult and why, in fact, by and large, he fell off in pro play. It had nothing to do with his numbers. It's just so damn hard to do anything in team fights. But if you recall, a while ago, Raptor pulled out Lee Sin, did so well on it, absolutely smurfed that game, and this was before the buff. So if you can make the Lee Sin work, it'd be quite nice. But Aphelios coming through, not shocked to see that ban. Still a great AD carry at the moment, utilizing the Storm Razor really well. I think also some Aphelios mains, specifically One Tricks, have been actually experimenting a little bit with the lethality, a little bit. So we'll see. Maybe if Aphelios gets through, we might see a bit more of the lethality coming through for him instead of hard crit, which he does like high AD items, and as it turns out, lethality items also, for whatever reason, are giving you a lot of AD.
Yeah, not only high AD, but also high effective AD because of the armor penetration that's on them. We also have Neferi coming out alongside Aurora, Nocturne, which got recently buffed this patch as well, and Akali, who got an interesting change that I think I will call a buff, as Ambessa is going to be the first pick here for King Koney of Koney Island, for the final boss team. Now, it's just a matter of what do they want to pick against it, because Blind Ambessa is not something that we see very often. More often than not, I think she's more of a counter pick nowadays.
Yeah, so the one thing that's aided Ambessa early in the draft is because she can still flex jungle. That is something that teams are really relying on in M600. It's also prevalent in AML. So, in fact, in AML, she is the highest presence champion across the board, and it's not even close. So, there's a little bit of tidbit of information about M600. But hey, there's Varus. Holy moly, there's Varus. What the heck?
Made it to the second round this time instead of being the instant first pick. So obviously the nerfs made some difference.
They made some difference. But overall, this is a great comp here from Final Boss. And also, Mel continues to get buffed, which is a choice, I think, by Riot.
Always concerning.
Yeah, always concerning. And her range is pretty crazy, but even then, the Renekton counter pick here into the Ambessa, which means maybe the Ambessa might be going into the jungle to avoid the matchup. Which I do think is kind of a bait recently, is you early pick Ambessa, the enemy team wants to pick Renekton, but because Ambessa can go jungle very easily, it's not like her clear is bad, even though they nerfed it. Like, she's still really good. You still have really good gank setup post 6, which is kind of where we're at right now in the jungle. You're basically ganking post 6 anyways on any jungler.
You're fighting for the second crab, you're getting level 6, and then you're looking
right.
for a gank. Which is why things like Nocturne, Wukong, Jarvan have been so popular.
Right, and I think, you know, it's not necessarily bad here for the Ambessa. So it's easier to bait the Renekton in, because now you can force this Renekton into a matchup either that just doesn't care about him, so his early game dominance is completely useless, or completely shuts it down and starts solo killing him, right? So you have two options here, because you get the Renekton early. Now, of course, it depends if this Ambessa is going top lane. We don't know that yet, but this is just where my mind at is in the draft, because I think it's really smart to bait out a Renekton to kind of punish the Renekton. Will be the the Poppy here for the Rakan counter.
I like this Poppy. This is a great Poppy, not only because it can go also between jungle and top if it is a matchup that ends up being decent for Ambessa, or decent for Poppy in the... No, actually, I was going to say that it was between jungle and top, but I forgot. Of course, it can go support as well. Matches up very well versus the Rakan, which I think is an excellent pick in this particular composition. Already stuffs the Renekton in team fights, stopping the Rakan early game. And it's going to be Malphite as the last pick here for Menthol. So I'm assuming this is going to be Malphite then in the jungle, with Renekton in the top, trying to match up against this Ambessa, as Xin Zhao was the pick for Koney Island, locking the Ambessa up towards the top side. Unless we're seeing some shenanigans with Xin Zhao top lane, but I don't think we've seen that in quite a long time.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting solo lane Xin Zhao either, but to talk a little bit here, something that Mel struggles with is, while she does have decent peel ability with her E because of the root, when a champion is unstoppable, that means they can't get CC'd, meaning your root is completely useless, and you are an immobile mage outside of that. Malphite has an unstoppable ult. In fact, it is really difficult for Mel to deal with.
It's kind of the name, Unstoppable Force.
Exactly. It's in the name. But looking at the backline here for Final Boss, very immobile, right? And I'm going to just go out on a limb, assume this is going to be Poke Forest, because 9 times out of 10, it is Poke Forest, no matter what. Might be able to tech into an Edge of Night, which might prevent a Malphite ultimate once this game, but you have to avoid Corki Rockets, you have to avoid any Cinder damage whatsoever, you have to avoid random Qs from Kiwi, proccing that off, and even then, say Kiwi goes in, gets it off, you're still getting Malphite ulted, or say Malphite goes in.
I hope you have your flash, is what we're going to be saying.
And then you're getting Rakan ulted, so a lot of pressure here on the immobile backline of Final Boss from Mint, and I actually think this Malphite pick, unironically, does really great things for their draft, because I was getting a little bit worried that they wouldn't have enough, but Malphite doesn't care about Poppy, so that's great.
Champions that doesn't.
That being said, to talk about Poppy, yes, her W is super oppressive into Rakan and all this stuff. One thing that's made her so relevant outside of steadfast presence is her ult. Keeper's Verdict is so good because it can separate teams, force numbers advantages, and there's not a great person on the enemy team to tank this, right? Like, who's gonna tank it? You don't want your Malphite to tank it because he's a key part of your engage. You don't want your Renekton to tank it because that's also kind of part of your front line here.
The other half of your front line,
Yeah, front line. So, who is going to take this Keeper's Verdict from Eclipse? Because if Eclipse can actually get a good Keeper's Verdict, Final Boss can very easily just blow up one of the two carries with how much burst they have between the Mal, who is now a burst champion, by the way, if you are unaware, has a lot of burst up front, the Varus, who does really good burst himself, right, because if it is lethality, of course. So, and Ambessa, I think, doesn't need any introduction, does more than enough burst on top of it. So, I'm a little scared here for Mint if a good Keeper's Verdict comes out from Eclipse, because at the end of the day, they don't really have a strong champ. Maybe Rakan is your best bet. Maybe you have to just sacrifice your Rakan game.
I mean, unless you're fully indexing on, we will just out-hands Eclipse and we're going to dodge it every time, someone is going to be eating the ultimate, and you just have to sort of either navigate the fight without them or just back off from the fight without them. You have to make some sort of decision on how you're going to be navigating these fights, because it's possible that Eclipse doesn't even charge the ultimate, can just tap it to get a knock-up to try and peel away for Verticality and for Codeine. They have options in this composition. The only thing I worry about for Final Boss is really the go button. They have great disengage and they have great counter engage, again, with that Poppy, with the Mel, even with Xin and Mbessa being able to turn a fight around very easily. But the engage is pretty much entirely on Menthol Mint Light. You have Rakan, you have Renekton, you have Malphite, these champions that will smack you in the face and dive front line pretty much every single time. And if Final Boss can stave those off, they're going to be doing fantastic. But if a snowball starts to occur, if they're like even in the game, it's going to be difficult to get a fight on their own terms because Menthol is going to be the one dictating the pace of the fights.
I think as well, one issue here for Mint to consider is Corki can go forward with the dive, but one champ that doesn't really go forward very well is Syndra. Syndra really kind of struggles going forward because it's completely dependent on her orb positioning, right? Like, and she's very bound to scatter the weak to kind of self-peel. So if she's using that for like a pick or like a go-in button, something that gets backline access very easily is the Mbessa. So the Mbessa here might potentially be completely unchecked onto the Syndra, meaning this Syndra has no chance of living because in a 1v1, this Mbessa will completely destroy the Syndra. It's not even close. So might need to halt that might halt some of their go-in potential here on Mint's side, is because they have to think in the back of their mind, we kind of need our Syndra here to do some damage because Renekton, great champion in the mid game. This will be like kind of their mid game bridge as the Syndra's scaling up with the Corki. But late game, it doesn't really get to do a lot unless it's fed, or it gets really good backline access, which is going to be really hard with the Poppy and the Xin Zhao who can create the space for the backline here. That you might even say put your Renekton on peel your Syndra duty, which is going to feel really sad for your
Which
Renekton.
feels really bad for the Renekton, yeah. Well, we'll have to see what exactly the plan is from both Menthol and from Final Bosses. We're going to jump onto the Rift here. It's game number 1 in week 5. A real... what do they call it in baseball when it's a deciding match? It's a rubber match, I think they call it. Where
well,
it's kind of like
the... You know? We could just call it a decider. Easy peasy. It is a decider.
It is an important momentum match because it's also worth mentioning both of these teams were coming off of losses from their previous week. Menthol lost 0-2 in pretty decisive fashion in Final Boss in a 3-game series, but still was a loss. So both of these teams, starting the back half of their season, they really want to come through with a win.
Yeah, I mean, again, right? Playoff implications here for this week. Also, the closer we do get to the playoffs, of course, is we need to really consider analyzing how these teams are doing, right? Like how they're able to adapt. Of course, this is kind of a, in quotation marks, a larger patch because they're trying to get stuff prepped for first stand. How do teams adapt to changes like this as we get closer to playoffs? How are they going to react? Like already we see Verticality playing the Vars despite it getting nerfed, and it will be the poke version of this with the comment. Like, how are teams going to adapt? Are teams going to knee-jerk react and be like, oh, Vars is really bad, but he's still going to be quite fine? Or will we actually see today that I'm wrong, the Vars is actually really difficult to play in comp now because he does less damage? And we'll have to see, but even then, both of these teams, halfway to playoffs, still got plenty of time to prove themselves. While yes, the clock is ticking, right? But you still have some time, and I think one of the biggest things is saying, hey, we're halfway through the season, we need to breathe, right? And not get overwhelmed that we need this. Is actually gank in the mid lane on the way.
Ooh, never saw. Manages to get away from the root, but the slow's still going to connect. Venom with the 3-talent strike, and the win becomes lightning. First blood. Over to Final Boss.
Yeah, Koney actually forcing out the flash from Syndra just means never saw just dead. She just burns the flash. The trade with Koney in there, but Venom on an excellent pathing, as we talked about, majority of junglers kind of farming till 6. Proven wrong right there. Little nice pathing from Venom to find first blood really early. As Venom will be the one who picks that kill up, so nice little hyper-accelerated Xin Zhao's never bad in the early game. But yeah, I'm sure the Mel probably wants to pick that one up for herself.
Yeah, and I think that's probably part of why the pathing like this ends up working so well, is because, I had a thought and I totally lost it. It's because the junglers will path towards farming for level 6 and are playing to be more farming style. So ganks like this, as we see Simo trying to make something happen, but Koney will sniff it out. the pre-level 6 ganks can be a little bit more effective because the laners aren't really expecting it.
Yeah, I mean, and also because it's like immobile mid laner, when you don't have scatter especially, it's so free for Xin Zhao to just really punish. So Venom does ultimately get double scuttled, which hurts a little bit, but again, you got first blood, not the end of the world. Will actually be the tunneler here, which pretty uncommon. Usually the Caulfield hammer first build, but regardless, some nice little extra HP. Doesn't hurt as the Malphite still kind of scaling his way to his level 6 as Eclipse.
Eclipse, this is a bad engage. There's the flash and the heal burned from the Poppy, just the heal from Mr. Kiwis, and I think just trying to make sure that this wave will hit the tower and is willing to lose the sums for it with the Hex Flash in inventory. A bold decision. We're going to have to see if that can get punished by the bottom lane of Menthol.
Oh, nice Q. Oh my god.
Whew.
Kiwi almost goes down. Now, I do recall when we did cast Mint last, me talking about Kiwi. I really liked when Kiwi was on these engaged champs, rather than like the enchanter looks that we've gotten from Kiwi. Because in the end, Neversoul's base will get canceled, but nice trade. Gotta remember that Koney did just teleport back, so any of this damage will be sticking for a while here. Does cancel out Neversaw's base though, so she will be back to lane a little bit later. Which might make her lose some CS, but overall, speaking of CS, it's really only the Syndra down quite a bit outside of the jungle matchup here, because of the kill. So realistically, both lanes kind of chilling. Team Koney though on the
hit for Koney, and Kodiak doesn't have it yet. Energy regained with that passive. Koney just trying to keep the fight up, but maybe sensing some sort of issue here. Maybe expecting that a jungler is possibly topside. Not expecting that Kodiak would play that aggressive a level down, and now with the level 6 and Dominus in pocket, Kodiak gets to play a lot more aggressive here. Walks up, looks for the stun, but dashes out of range. King Koney will stay safe in the 1v1.
Yeah, playing really well on the Ambessa, actually. Is Guide of the Week will miss. Still no flash.
Green gets the slow, never saw. He's going to get slowed up here. The 3-talent strike, the unleashed power,
Oh!
off the ultimate. It's just enough damage, and never saw walks away from the burst. Clean outplay in the 2v1.
This will be free dragon here for Mint, and I'm just... What is M600's fascination with going for possibly some of the worst dives I've ever witnessed? But there's some pressure around this dragon.
Sumo's not level 60 and verticality. Koney is going to get engaged on, gets the root off onto Alistair, but it's still going to get taken very low. Sumo not level 6, but has the electrocute, just smites down Koney. And Eclipse will be the next to go, not having that flash. Just
the Q gets canceled.
A nice scat of the week from Neversaw means verticality can't let go of the piercing arrow. A double kill for Alistair, and the dragon should go cleanly over to Menthol Light.
Well, it was first boss with a great early game, but completely throwing that over back towards the wave Ment. And it starts off with a very questionable dive. Like, it is a full health Syndra who didn't get rooted, and you're not level 6, so it's not like you're actually able to prevent any of the unleashed power damage. So Venom goes down early, and then for some reason, we just lost the fact that their bot lane, who was hitting Drake and was seen hitting Drake, walked into the banana bush, and Koney walks directly into them and just dies. So final boss Koney Island are just completely miffed there, as they go down 3 kills now, and what was looking like a pretty good early start here falls apart very quickly.
Yeah, suddenly life a little bit more rough for the final boss members as Koney continuing to try and trade into Kodiak here, but holding on to that Dominus, just keeping on to that extra health. Called to me for a little extra healing. Both of these top laners just holding their ultimates for threat and not really willing to burn them in this 1v1. It's just a who's gonna throw it first? Who's gonna pull the trigger first?
Yeah, the issue for Koney is that he's never really going to be able to kill the Renekton with his own ultimate until Dominus is gone, so he kind of just does have to play chicken with the Renekton, because if he tries to ult the Renekton will just buffer his ult while he's getting suppressed. So, and then he's gonna die, because Dominus is just such a huge stat increase, on top of giving him Fury over time, which is what he needs.
I do also
So
like the itemization here from Kodiak, going for the plated steel caps first in this composition that is 4 ADs and a Mel, who is, yeah, providing some CC, but you can get tenacity from other sources like Sterix Gauge or Endless Hunger now, one of the better fighter items that got added this patch. It's a lot of, I think it's the right call here to go for the steel caps and just say, I'm playing for lane.
yeah, I agree as well that I mean, also, right, the biggest thing is he was actually kind of losing some early trades, so going for a more defensive option is not necessarily horrible, especially because you are in a counter matchup, right? So if you start losing that matchup, not only have you put your team really far behind because your counter matchup is now winning, you're also kind of making, as a Renekton, right, you falling behind is really, really brutal for your team, so um, I like, you know, seeing this kind of adaptation come out from players like, hey, I'm not trading very well into the Abessa. Let me just get some defensive stats, you know, and instead of egoing this matchup, building full damage and then dying. As actually good trade into the top lane once again.
Koney gonna grab the shield, get a little bit of a trade back. We do also have Venom on the top side, so Koney perhaps a little bit more confident to go for these scrappier trades, but the sustain from that Call to Me, Kodiak is just gonna stay very healthy in this laning phase, and now grabbing a stumble, we gotta play on the bottom side. Verticality flashes forward, but it's away from the Malphite, it's right into the waiting arms of the Menthol light bottom lane. Sivo picks up that kill, and Eclipse will have the flash, will be able to get out, but it's traded a kill on the bottom side for the grubs up top side. And Menthol Light continues to snowball this bottom lane.
And I think it's actually so unfortunate the Q timing from Verticality. He starts charging the Q right as the Malphite is. Actually, Alistair's...
Oh! Lives
Even
the
HP
tower shot
check.
on. That has to be single digit HP.
I have to get an HP check on that. That is disgusting that he lived that. Oh my god, health pot's OP, please nerf. And hey, this is actually... I'm gonna go on a mini tangent here. If you're a jungle player, especially like I see Emerald and Plat junglers doing this all the time, buy your health pot at level 1. It is so game warping. Griffin, great jungler right on FlyQuest. He talks about it. It's so... That health pot, right, gives you extra HP to play off of, which can completely change the state of the game, right? Like, it sounds so little, but for 50 gold, it really is that. Health pots can keep you alive.
Health matters.
Yes, it does. It's so important here, and we saw that exactly come through for Alistair. The health pot just barely ticking to keep himself alive there under the tower as, again, disaster in the spot lane as Verticality unluckily handling the arrow at the very, very worst possible time. Does end up flashing forward to avoid the Malphite ult, which was clean, but a bit
Good flash
unfortunate.
timing, just not right direction.
Yeah, because he tried to let go of his arrow and flash at the same time because he realized it. So it was a good reaction, just a bit unfortunate that the arrow was drawn, but still, good pressure in the bot lane here.
Looking for a fight down here, but maybe just a little early. Venom not in the area. Wind Becomes Lightning is going to land onto Alistair, but they're far enough under tower that they're not going to end up pressing for it. Everyone will manage to walk away. Now with Simo on the bottom side, Dragon spawned up here. Both of these teams wanted to fight for second Dragon, but for now, just waiting it out.
Something to mention here, if you look at the CS difference, Venom, who lost the double scuttle, is now down 20 CS as well to the Malphite, which, as a Sensao, you really don't want to see. Flash is available here for Neversaw.
Maybe looking to make up for it, but the Dragon is being taken in the meantime. You see that on your mini-map. Venom looking for a potential play. He's going to get spotted out by Neversaw, but walks a little bit too close. The scatter, though, weak, along with the flash, traded with Codeine again. Now we have a fight in the top side as Dragon goes down. King Koney waiting for that Dominus to run out to burn the ultimate. Public execution just being held on to, waiting, ticking. Kodiak wants to keep the fight going for a little bit longer. Get the last little value of that Dominus. We'll just walk away. Koney not willing to burn the ultimate on it, actually. I thought with an item advantage, for sure, that would have been Ambessa's time to go.
Yeah, still a bit scared, because Renekton with High Fury is still a really good trader, so... Some respect shown is actually, speaking of respect,
Yeah, trade continuing up here, but Kodiak, now level 11 with the Conqueror stack, is feeling confident, especially with Simo and Kiwiism in the area. Now Koney potentially in some trouble.
Nice
The
flash.
ultimate's flashed away from, but the dashes are just not enough. Rakan catches up, and Kodiak will pick up the kill, but now can Venom and Eclipse turn it around. Kodiak taken very low. The heal from Kiwiism, keeping him alive alongside the Grand Entrance. Kiwiism playing some great peel, but now Simo has to be the one to get out of trouble. Has to be able to walk away here. Does have the flash. The knockup for the 3-talent strike lands, gets away. Entrance, not allowing Eclipse and Venom to follow up any further. Everybody from Menthol walks out.
Final boss, like, just have no damage once that Mbessa is gone. Venom sitting on just the Sundered Sky, not able to actually continue to commit onto Alaskan Kodiak, who plated Steel Cap's value goes insane here. Poppy, Xin Zhao, and Mbessa, all AD champs in terms of their damage output, so plated Steel Cap's purchase paying off for Alaskan Kodiak once again, as they do find King Koney, who, whilst having a billion dashes himself, still gets caught by the Rakan, even flashing both of both the Grand Entrance and the Malphite ultimate. Still gets caught and dies under tower. And,
sometimes people complain about mobility creep, but then you get plays like that where you get the flash to outplay the dash, and then another dash and another dash outplays it, and it looks really cool. So, like, as much as playing against it is sometimes frustrating, that's hype. That's cool.
and I mean, it still died. Like, that's, like, it doesn't matter. Like, the Mbessa still ended up dying, so it's not creeped that much, but Alaskan Kodiak still kind of struggling to trade here occasionally. But both first items are finished, and it actually is going to be the Black Clear first item here into the Mbessa, who has no armor, and it's not like the Xin Zhao is building armor either.
I don't hate it. The HP and the AD and the ability haste are all stats that Renekton does want to have, but the Eclipse is just going to get so much more value into this particular pickup because you don't have any extra armor yourself outside of the Steel Caps. Speaking of defenses, Codeine burns the Retribution, but Neversaw holds on to the Unleashed Power, strikes him down.
Yeah, really good patience from Neversaw. And yes, she did get killed early, but 2-1-1 now on the Syndra, who, again, really wants to generate this lead because, oh man, I remember the days when Syndra wasn't a scaling champ and her mid-game was just absolutely bonkers. But Alistair, a lot of people around here in this bot side.
Kiwiism's in the area. He's going to get caught by the stun here, but does the Rakan actually die? Is just going to be forced away. They're still potentially looking for the dive here. Teleport being used by Neversaw as Koney is teleporting into the mid lane, and now potentially Venom's the one in trouble, taking up a couple tower shots. The Crescent Guard is going to put in a lot of work. The Poppy ultimate is not going to hit. Simo, in the meantime, is trading on the top side with King Koney. Did pick up that Rift Herald, and now Koney potentially stuck in a 1v2, but Simo not super tanky yet, forced to just walk away. And the bottom lane dive, it just fizzles out with Kiwiism coming back in to play good defense.
Oh, Neversaw does not have
think
flash.
Should be fine here with the Scatter the Weak in pocket, still playing safe and okay. It's very aggressive positioning from Final Boss, especially considering how far behind they are.
Yeah, also you were talking about the Hubris Gruff, and here it is. It's out from verticality. But another big issue here again for Final Boss is, yes, they're playing super aggressive here. Yes, they're kind of putting Mint in an uncomfortable position. Realistically, right, they still have not been able to really convert on any of their plays, save for the First Blood, which happened oh so long ago. And they're getting gold gapped so hard right now. It's about 4,000 gold here for Mint, which is exactly where you want it. It's on your Corki, it's on your Syndra, though. Absolutely perfect placement here for Mint's gold. As working on second item is Neversaw. She's going to be finishing that very soon. Not before this dragon, but soon.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Cosmic Drive second, if I'm remembering my item builds correctly. There's also the 5-stack Dark Seal in inventory, which means this Syndra is going to be providing a lot of damage in this team fight.
Yeah, she has quite a bit of damage. Also, Blackfire Torch giving you the secondary passive besides the burn, of giving you the bonus AP, so that's pretty nice.
Eclipse. Looking to just get some more coverage. They're going to spot out Simo, clear out of that Phaelite brush. Neversaw now in the area with the 80 carries farming bottom lane. It looks like this dragon is just going to be started by Venom. They're just going to look for it. Rift Herald popped over the wall. as Simo is going to force
Teleport.
that play out. TP in from Alaskan Kodak. Glips now potentially the one in trouble. Unleash Power not doing a ton to the Poppy this early in the game. She's still fairly tanky, dragging down to about 3,000. But Ment have just walked their way in. And to get back into the paint, yes, they can! Venom comes in with the steal and the massive eclipse to shut everybody out. But can they actually win the point afterwards? No, they cannot! Simo comes in with a crushing unstoppable force. Eclipse with a great shutout off to the ultimate, but it's just not enough. Protoplasm Harness and all the tank stats from Simo keep them alive. Koney forced on the run. Verticality trying to leave, but stuck in the 1v4 with the flash in from Kodiak. It's a double kill for Neversaw. A great Dragon Steal, but an even better team fight from Menthol Mint Light.
Yeah, I mean, again, they just don't have damage right now because they're so far down. This, I mean, realistically, right? Pokebar scales really hard once he gets the mana immune fixed up into the mirror mana. He's also still sitting on one item. He's about to finish his second, but also this is a Luden's only Ambessa, right? I thought it was Saris for some reason, my bad. But it's a Luden's only Ambessa. Oh my god, Mel.
Ambessa's kid, Mel. You were
I hate when these two champs are on the same team. The Medardas are killing me.
You can't tell the Medardas apart? What's wrong
I can. But like I'm thinking about Ambessa and Mel. It doesn't matter. Regardless. So she's not able to do a lot of damage here. And it's realistically this lead on the Syndra, who now has the Cosmic Drive and the Medjais, mind you, to have so much extra damage that the Mel unfortunately does not have. As well as, again, Corki, who's sitting on the Triforce, which is a decent one-item spike, and they just have better consistent damage because of the gold that they've been able to generate off of some very massive mistakes off of Final Boss.
Yeah, I think this is kind of what we talked about in draft. Final Boss doesn't really have a go button. They don't have a way to take a fight on their own terms. We've seen them be forced out, be on the back foot as soon as they didn't have a lead, as Hex Flash in from Eclipse doesn't land a stun, and now potentially in trouble as that Scout of the Week's going to land the stun, and Simo's just going to help Neversaw walk him down. Eclipse falls again.
I mean, I do appreciate these kind of looks, because I think, like, well...
Solvable Force over the wall alongside the Grand Entrance. I think this should just be a dead Venom. Does have the Crescent Guard, so we'll be able to walk out for a little bit extra time. But Alistair with the Gatling gun is just going to help chase it down. Kiwiism will take the kill for their own troubles. Verticality flashes away from the Scatter of the Week. With no ultimate, no anything else to follow up, they're just going to let the poor Varus go.
So, a bit unfortunate here for Final Boss, because I don't necessarily know if they actually have a way in, is the issue. Because
it's
now...
what we talked about with their draft.
Well, that, but also, right, like, their comp is really mid-game focused. Mel's Burst is really good around the mid-game, and Bessa's insane around the mid-game. Poke Bars does scale up. Deceptive
Sidesteps everything. Codeine looking for the Reflect back. Scatter of the Week with the last bit of that mana. Now Koney, the one potentially in trouble, as Dominus popped. Flash away from that Grand Entrance. He managed to walk out just fine, but it feels like this top lane has been very stagnant, I would say.
Yeah, King Koney not able to actually really do anything, and played to Steel Cap's OP. Please nerf as continues here in this 1v2 to... It'll be a 1v3.
Yeah, 1v3 in a second, but the wave does die, so Alistair's going to have to wait at least a little bit, and is sitting on a ward. We'll spot that out with the control ward. And now with Venom and Eclipse roaming up towards the top side, I think they're going to think better of it and just try and play for the tower instead.
Yeah, should be able to maybe get this tower, but they are really scared.
Neversaw gets a decent chunk onto Venom. I say decent, that was about a quarter of his health with half of a combo. Yeah, it turns out when your Syndra gets really far ahead, she scales really well. Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought? I mean, if you asked me Season 4, Season 5, I would have been like, man, Syndra doesn't scale. She's just a really good mid-game champ. But,
yeah, but then they gave her the scaling passive.
Yes, and then they gave her the scaling passive, so she's much better in the late game. Still has that mid-game strength, of course. As a Vert, my friend.
Vitality smites away the spell shield. Simo, that's rude. You can't do it to him like that. But he'll go unstoppable.
Bye-bye. Unfortunate there, as Smite does remove your edge Smite.
He hit the counterplay button. Sivo and Kiwiism are going to walk into Venom here on the top side of the jungle with the grand entrance and the quickness. I don't think Venom's going to be walking away from this one. Alistair survives the burst. Koney can't get the public execution down onto the Corki, who's going to try and channel a cheeky recall here. Codeine, can you spot it out in time? Yeah, they can. Alistair's going to flash out. Sidesteps just not enough. And that will be shut down. A lot of gold over to the Mel.
Been unfortunate, but will be finally the second kill coming through from Final Boss after many close calls this game. But it is just looking so brutal. Hextech, they did buy themselves an additional 5 minutes, okay? But Kodiak
potentially in trouble, but does have the Dominus. Teleport being burned as well. Neversaw wants to take this fight. She's coming in. The Eclipse is going to use the Keeper's Verdict, though. Now Neversaw's the one in trouble, stuck in the 1v2 with the Scatter of the Weak. He is going to force King Koney away. Now Eclipse is the one in trouble, executed by the Unleashed Power. Neversaw goes dominating.
Yeah, Neversaw, like, 20 stacks on the Medjais, by the way. So 5 stacks off max, which, oh, so scary. Oh, I never saw it. It's just so good. The positioning is just so well played. Prevents the wraparound from Venom.
Kodiak wants to continue this fight. Scatter the Weak lands onto 2. Do they have more follow-up than that? As now Kodiak's the one in trouble. Has the Terror Gauge, but has to be able to flash out. Now Kiwiism into the backline with the quickness. Can they look for anything more? Neversaw very low. The Golden Eclipse burned, but it doesn't do enough damage. Alistair and Neversaw survived with the Slayer of HP. Simo's in on the front line. A double kill with the ground pound. Looking for a little bit more onto Cody and trying to chase this kill down. Now maybe potentially in a little bit of trouble, but it's so tanky on this mouth fight. Just does not give a care. Hex flash into the backline, but Simo goes legendary. Does not care about the support pop. He knows that he has no damage, and Cody's just gonna get walked down by the red buff Malphite. Can you heal and shield enough to get away from it? No, you absolutely cannot. A clean ace for Menthol Light.
This Malphite is the same level as the Mbessa, mind you, with the top lane quest completed.
It's Thanos.
That is insane. We'll be free Baron here for Ment, as one early game slip up is all it takes for Final Boss to just lose all control. And I say one early game slip up. It was a massive mistake, to be clear, just so we're aware, right? Like a complete breakdown of things. But that being said, Menthol having a fantastic game. Neversaw, despite dying early to first blood, has really come back in a resounding manner. Full Medjai stacks. Now, we all know the meme. Once you get those max Medjai stacks, you're probably bound to die immediately after. So hopefully Neversaw can prove that wrong and stave off the Call of the Void, if you will. Because you're like, oh man, I'm so strong, I can just walk forward and then just get insta-snapped. But the Simper is going to one-shot anybody.
If it was in my ranked game, and I saw my mid laner die to first blood and return to lane with a Dark Seal, I might be a little concerned about the state of the game and how they're going to play it, but Neversaw has proved my mentality entirely wrong, and she's been confident enough to say, yeah, okay, I gave up first blood to a good gank, whatever. I'm still going to play this lane better than Codeine. I'm still going to come out ahead, and life is still going to be good for me, and she was absolutely right betting on herself again. That 25 stack Majai showing up nice.
I also drop some hot knowledge here to you on the Colorcaster side. If you're behind as a mid laner, and you're really struggling to find an item to buy, it's going to sound really stupid, but Medjai's is 1250 gold. So it is such a cheap item for a pretty good AP, like, stat stick, that if you are behind, and it doesn't matter, like, you have, even if you die, right, you have no stacks to give away, so you might as well at least give yourself a fighting chance. And honestly, right, Darksteel is so cheap, 350 gold, so you're kind of not even necessarily needing to bait yourself. Bird is dead. Oh, nice flash.
Bert flashes away from the ultimate. Is going to be able to burn that ultimate himself as well, but every single ultimate is being thrown onto this poor Varus. Has the barrier, though. Might be able to walk away for just a little bit longer, but I forgot Simo is Thanos, and it's just going to walk him down. Venom's the next one in trouble, as Neversaw is going to go legendary again with that Unleashed Power. Koney dashing over the wall, but Kodiak right behind him, trying to follow up, but not under tower. That Stair Sketch does work, but the Golden Eclipse does more. Codeine, another shutdown to the Mel, but is it too little too late, as their base is going to start to get torn open here?
Yeah, Baron here for Ment will be reset coming through from Neversaw, who does have teleport. It's actually, she cancels it. She's going to stay, at least for a little while longer. I don't necessarily know if Ment feel comfortable to end here. 13 seconds on Vert.
Carefully. dash blocked by the steadfast presence, but Simo comes in. Massive 3-man ulti, and Kiwiism walks out with a sliver of HP. Koney's the first to go down. Koney trying to escape with his life will manage to just barely scramble away from the team fight. It looked bad for Kiwiism, but the hero Simo comes in to save the day.
Malphite is doing so much work this game.
Full build.
19
It's 28 minutes.
KP here. No deaths, 10 kills. This is a full tank Malphite. At full items as a jungler in 28 minutes into the game.
God.
He is
That is
4
5
levels over
items
Venom. He's
versus 2.5.
He is one level ahead of King Koney. Oh my god, this Malphite is just so ridiculous.
He's got
gonna
ultimate
have ult again!
Disease Herald, the ultimate ability haste on the item is so damn good, and Venom, this is no longer your jungle, and never saw cease to it.
Yeah, let's just wrap this one up. I'm pretty sure Simo could 1v5. At this point, no one has enough damage to kill him. So
I think he could do a loop of the base, just going around the Nexus turret, just like walk into the base, wrap around the fountain, take a quick jog back up top lane. I think he'd do it.
Right now, he is definitely communicating to the enemy team that they are going to lose. Oh, the stun just doesn't even connect.
Yeah, it doesn't manage to find the stun with Kiwiism, but even if the stun does connect there, I don't know if that's a fight you want to follow up on.
Well, you gotta do something. You are losing, so, I mean, at the end of the day, you either take that fight and lose, or you just lose. So, if you're EU, you would just lose, because you just don't want to, you refuse to play the game, so...
You have to look at your KDA. The stats matter so much as Codeine is going to eat a chunk, even with the retribution of plenty of damage through that shield. Simo finds another good ulti angle. Kiwiism will follow up after. It doesn't even need the grand entrance. It's canceled out by Verticality's arrows, but it does not matter. It's another 2 kills over to Menthol Light. Zhonya's from Neversaw beautifully timed to get away from the burst of Codeine, and with the Hextech Soul in inventory, this game is just wrapped. Codeine doesn't get stunned, but their base is already in tatters. Kodiak's walking him down. Game 1 is going to go to Menthol Light.
Well-deserved game 1 as well as they're playing for some more kills, which they will find some more. Yeah, they will find some more, but... Man, Menthol. I mean, when they got control of the game, right? They just didn't let up. Like, Final Boss had literally no chance at all in this game once they got control.
Yeah, that
Final Boss, though,
that was just lacking.
They really need to VOD review that entire Drake play. What a just disastrous, like, even disregarding Venom dying to the tower. That's unfortunate, right? Codeine actively walking into not only just the Corki, but also the Rakan, who was seen. They saw the bot lane there. Like, it's not like it wasn't seen like it was just like a nice trap. They were on vision when they walked into the banana brush, and it just, maybe it wasn't commed correctly. Maybe Codeine forgot, like maybe didn't hear it, but absolute disaster. And just like that, usually the game is not decided in the early game, but that completely sold the game across the board for Final Boss, who had a great start. Like, the Venom lost, you know, got a little bit behind in the CS, but it was able to pick up the first blood onto the mid laner of Ment here, who was Neversaw. Neversaw did die to first blood this game. That's the only death by her this game, by the way. Yeah. 37k, 38k
One of
almost.
3 that they took as a team entirely. 11-0 and 11 from Simo on the Malphite. Didn't do a ton in the early game, but didn't really have to. It's like you said, junglers play for level 6. And once Malphite has level 6, Unstoppable Force is a really good ability. Got outsmited by Venom one time, but you win the fight after that. So do you even really care about Final Boss getting their first dragon, a solo Hextech dragon? I don't think you do.
No, you don't. And I mean, you just keep pressing your advantage from that point. And critically here as well, something that happens to me a lot that I've seen with the new Mel is Mel never loses her team the game, right? Like, she's never the sole reason she loses. But I will say, every time I've seen Mel, A, it's lost, but B, even though it's not causing the team to lose in any way, it also doesn't feel like it does enough to justify drafting it at the moment. Like, anytime I see it, it's just like, wow, okay, you're just like a worse Syndra, right? Which,
You're
like,
they moved her from a consistency spell spammer to a burst mage, and she just does the burst mage job worse than everybody else. I think there's a lot of questions that both teams are going to have to answer coming out of this, because as great as Menthol was, there was the Dragon Steel, there were dying to that first blood, there were a couple of questions and maybe some iffy plays that they can work on, as all teams can. But for final boss, you guys got to shape up now, because like we said, it's week 5. You're coming off of a pretty rough loss, and obviously Menthol is too, but they are pissed about it as they come screaming in game number 1. We're going to cut to a short break here while we get ourselves set up for the draft for game number 2. We're going to see if Mint is going to make it a quick night, or if Final Boss are going to fight back and send us to a 3-game series. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you on the other side of this break. Take care.
550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right?
Welcome back, everybody. We are getting ourselves ready to jump into the draft for game number 2. But before we do that, there is something we like to do here on the Titan Esports Immortal broadcast. It's the Kiss, Marry, Kill. Our producer presents 3 champions to us, most of the time with a particular theme, and says, hey, who are we going to kiss, who are we marrying, and who are we killing? And it seems that most of us are in agreement about one pick in particular, except for you, Ozzy, if you'd like to defend yourself here.
I can fix her. That's all I can say. Next.
You can fix her, but you're not going to marry her? Wow, okay. That's cowardice is what that is.
It's fine. Oh my god, okay, well.
The theme is the fairy court, as I'm not going to say what our producer says the theme was. I'm gonna let the producer tell you all in chat what that is, because I'm not gonna say that. But you can see the theme. It's all the fairy court skins. They're all really pretty. It's hard to say no to any of them in particular.
I mean, for me, it's a surefire yes. Like, kill Seraphine every time. Hashtag.
You just don't like Seraphine.
Exactly. You get it. Like,
so what I'm hearing is our producer needs to include Seraphine on every single one.
Well, no, because unfortunately, sometimes with weeks where I have to, where there are other champions I have to kill, Seraphine will get a pass. But unfortunately, when she's alone by herself like this, it's very easy to kill her. But shout out to Karma, our very unproblematic queen.
Unproblematic queen, the GOAT, truly.
Yeah. Exactly. You
our
understand.
Producer is enjoying herself in the background.
Yeah, very, very feral about Karma vibes.
You know what?
About this.
I can't blame her. Can you?
Now, I'll explain my reasoning about Katarina. Okay. I can fix her. Okay, it's not my fault that I was raised in the era of Azulas and she goes, like, it's not my fault, all right? I was literally I was psyoped. I was psyoped from a child. How am I supposed to do? Like, it's not my fault, okay? But also, I fuck with the white hair heavy, okay? I won't lie. The white hair kind of does it for me.
I can't disagree with you. The white hair looks really nice, but as we're getting out of the Kiss, Marry, Kill, we're coming into the actual draft for game number 2 here. You can see on the bottom, as I say almost every time, the fearless picks and bans. Just got to keep your eye out, make sure that those champions are not getting through. As Menthol Light are moving over to the blue side, as final boss will pick red, coming off of that pretty rough game 1 loss.
Yeah, back on to the train of thought here, as just a
Bands are
tragic
the same so
turn
far.
of events, I think, for final boss in the early game for sure, because, like, again, I think they just need to take a deep breath. The kill in the mid lane was just so unfortunate for Venom. I say unfortunate, but, like, there's just no reason to tower dive there.
Not pre-6. Not pre-6.
There's just so many issues that happened all at once that just completely destroyed their game. Like, the Varus got behind the Corki off of the one play. The Mel lost her lead into the Syndra off that one play. Like, a whole slew
of
dominoes fell at that one instance that got them behind, but it will be Neversoft first picking the Ahri here.
And I mean, after a performance like that in game 1, can you blame them for having the confidence going 10-1 in 10 on that particular pick? Just styling in certain moments. I think we both our producers and us in the on the play in the bottom lane, dodging out from all the Mel skill shots and everybody else's. Just some incredible performances from Neversaw. Have to shout her out there. The final boss is going to respond with Yunara. We were mentioning her in the last draft and how strong that she is still currently, even after a slew of nerfs. Alongside the Rise now for Codeine. Rise normally something counterpicked by things like Anivia, so seeing it here as a counterpick I think makes it feel a lot better.
Also, Nefuri did get buffed in the jungle, I think, last patch.
Yes, she did.
So, and look, the lethality items are pretty good, pretty gold efficient, and gold efficiency is really strong as it turns out. But it will be Zeri, who usually we see in Game 4, Game 5 professionally, especially, I can't believe that I'm going to say this, Yumi has been popping back up. I hate to break it to you.
Yeah, my
So,
worst nightmare, truly.
I really hate to break it to you. Yuumi is coming back. Ezreal Yuumi. We've seen Zeri Yuumi, and there it is. There's the ban. Like,
Thank
so
goodness.
just brace
Thank you, Final
yourself.
Boss.
Brace yourselves for the Yuumi. Okay, just brace yourselves. All right.
Yeah,
Winter
there are
is
still
coming.
enchanter picks. There are still enchanter picks that you would want to pair up with these area. I was going to say like Lulu, maybe something like a Karma or Emilio as well. It's certainly not as good as the Yuumi, but is still potentially pickable. It is going to be a lot of support priority in the second ban phase, like we mentioned, the Yuumi and the Lulu already gone. The Thresh as well. I imagine something like Nautilus or maybe even a Blitzcrank will probably receive a ban here. No, it's actually Jax trying to protect that top lane a little bit for Kodiak.
I think Lunara Karma here would be interesting. If I'm Final Boss, I think I would just take the Karma. I think we'll be Nami, though.
I don't hate this. I'm a Nami enjoyer. I like this.
I do like Nami, but I do find that she might struggle a bit into the Nefiri, just a tad, which can be a bit problematic. Will be Zehen, of course, who we actually were talking kind of behind the scenes about how Riot will only be releasing one champ and kind of focusing on some reworks, and also League Next, which is League 2, kind of, next year.
It's a much better client at the very least. I'm glad to see the Karma locked in at the very least.
But one thing, right, an argument was like, oh, Riot is so tired of like releasing these like super OP champs that they had to rework, like the Mel, which they recently reworked, but Zehen, I think it's been pretty unproblematic. Like, I think he's kind of landed in a good spot. I don't think he's like super oppressive. He's got moments where he's kind of not that great, especially draft-wise. But he also has moments where he's really good and he's competitively viable. He's just not always the best champion every single game, which I think is great.
Yeah, I'm shocked that Riot has managed to make an unproblematic revive passive. That feels like something they just haven't been able to manage to do in the past, God, I want to say a decade even? It feels like it's been a long time since like we've seen Zac come out when his revive passive was like, yeah, okay, you kill the blobs, you stop them from reviving. You know, if you're ahead, you can take care of it, but if you're behind, you're gonna struggle. We're getting quick into the game here for game number 2. We're gonna have to see if Menthol Light will be as quick or if Final Boss are gonna send us to game 3.
Well, to examine some of these, they have a lot of mid-game pressure here from men's side. Specifically, the Glissy here on your screen paired with the Ari. As Simo
it's gonna
actually
quite a bit
misses
of damage
the
here.
ward, which
That's rough.
Not ideal. Not ideal.
That's rough, buddy.
Okay.
We've got a trade up here on the top side as well. Koney does have the press the attack, so playing very aggressive here versus the grass from Kodiak. I think Kodiak is still coming out slightly ahead of this, especially with one more grass proc. A lot of heavy trading here, but I think with the sustain that Zehen has on that Q, I think it's actually preferable for him.
Yeah, the vitals actually worked out so well for King Koney there, so we'll be Ignite here, so something to note here for the Fiora, or of the 1v1 focus, which she is a duelist. In fact, lore-wise, canonically a duelist.
That's kind of her thing.
In fact, she's the Demasia's best duelist. So, but
I remember
that's about lore.
That one stick figure animation where she fought Jax. Oh, good times.
But also, yeah, King Koney does need to respect the Zehen a little bit here because of the sustain, as you mentioned. Also, grasp here for Kodiak as well as Alistair forced to burn the ghost early.
And the heal as well. Eclipse and Verticality, not using any summoners. This is a really big lead for the Yunara and the Nami, which, like we mentioned, with having issues dealing with the Nefiri later in the game, this is something you really need to see from this bottom lane.
Yeah, and also part of this is like, banning the Lulu is interesting for me because it's also something you can pair with the Zeri. And while I do think Lulu Yunara is a little bit annoying, and also trying to deal with Polymorph as a Zeri is kind of annoying.
Or in a Fury,
for that matter. Prevent, like, what if they just don't pick Lulu? Like, are you like dead set that they are gonna pick Lulu? Like, Karma was still available as well, who also pairs really well with Yunara in general, because of the like shield move speed that she naturally gives as well. That I don't know. Like, I just think it's a interesting look. We'll see if it pays off here for Ment. As right now the lane not really paying off, but that is kind of to be expected. Zeri, very bad presets.
Yeah.
But as soon as she hits level 6, her kill pressure is just absolutely insane. So we'll have to keep our eyes out there on the level 6 level up. Is also another champ that has insane pressure around level 6 is actually the Yunara Transcendent State.
Yeah, Verticality looking, they're just continuing to play aggressive in this bottom lane, putting on the pressure. And as someone who plays a lot of Nami and plays a lot of support, this is exactly what you want to see out of a lane like this. You want to abuse the weak early game from the Zeri. And yeah, Karma's going to supplement some of that, but she can't do everything on her own. You have two strong or strong-ish early game champions versus one, and you have to be applying your pressure in that particular instance, because if you don't and you let the Zeri scale, lane's just going to get away from you. Nice parry by King Koney. That's going to be the Ignite down as well. Flash away from last Kodiak, but one more auto from King Koney! First blood for the Fiora! The duelist stands tall!
Hey, finally, King Koney is able to punish this top lane matchup of Kodiak. As Eclipse does get poked down a little bit here, is low on mana. But yeah, great play. Ignite is actually... Simo does go look for some play in the top side. Won't really find anything other than a bit of this wave. But does cancel out King Koney's base. But will be flashed down here. And Kodiak actually not going to be able to burn the TP because W Jungler Simo comes in and holds the wave like a great jungle player who it still is actually up CS.
Yeah, I think the fact that you're managing to stay up in CS versus Wukong, who does not have a bad clear by any stretch of the imagination, while also holding your top laner's wave and letting them keep their teleport for a better situation, huge for Menthol Light. Something we didn't get to talk about because the draft went by so quickly, and I will say it went by so quickly because these players have managed to get their stuff together and not have us wait for 20 minutes between the games. So shout out to all the good boys and girls on Menthol Light and Final Boss Koney Island. Great stuff, you guys. But something we didn't get a chance to talk about is engage potential for either of these squads, because both of them are very dually brawlery and have sort of conditional engage. The best engage button in this game really being Venom getting a good ultimate off.
Yeah, I think for Ment, they actually really... they are really lacking in the CC department. Like, very much so. You have Tether, you have a knockup, which is conditional from Kodiak, you have the pullback, which is very short ranged and very telegraphed. We see up here, actually. Kodiak still...
It actually ends up being worse for Kodiak, as, yeah, pulling the Fiora closer to you sometimes can be bad for you.
You have Charm, which fully dependent on if you hit the button. Can be difficult sometimes, especially max range. And that's it. And so a lot of your CC is not great. And looking on the other side, right, you have the Rise route, which is point and click, which is going to help a lot onto a single target. You have Cyclone, which is a circle, so that's kind of hard to miss, especially because it's centered around your character. So if you miss it, it's completely on you. And then you still have things like the Tidal Wave and the Bubble, right, which can be chained off of things like the Rise route or the Cyclone as well. So a lot of more CC here on the side of Final Boss. They also have a winning side lane in this Fiora, who, despite that, is actually down 12 CS. So this kill lead in terms of gold is completely gone.
Yeah, I think, again, that comes from good guy Simo holding that wave and making sure that Kodiak was able to hold on to teleport and then get a better recall off, teleport back in now with an item advantage. And it's kind of forcing King Koney to stay as, speaking of Simo, going to be up here on the top side now, trying to steal away some of these little Krugs. Gets a decent chunk of them, so plenty of gold into the pockets of this Nefiri. And then I'm kind of struggling for scraps on what camp they're going to go to next, because Simo's just tailing them right to the Raptor camp.
Yeah, does need to be careful though. Codeine is here on the rise. Ooh, well, actually get it. Actually gets it. The pet is OP.
From Simo. Now suddenly Codeine in a little bit of trouble. Eats the charm with Simo not wanting to engage with Venom, or right there with the ultimate available. And a much slower game 2 here, as it feels like Menthol Light is kind of just happy to scale it out and play a little bit slower.
Yeah, it's actually going to be Final Boss who did pick up the first strike, but I would say that, you know, a little bit of a slower game kind of appreciated here, especially for men's bot lane, who, playing the Zeri, right, you really do want to play a bit slower. Also, way harder to utilize your level 6 into a Yunara, whose level 6 is also just as strong as yours. Maybe a little bit weaker, but still pretty strong. Tied with a Nami, who can kind of stall you out, you know, really well with the Tidal Wave. That does make, like, utilizing your level 6 a little hard, which is the point I was touching on. Did not mean to say that the Yunara had Transcendent State at level 3, but that ended up coming out regardless. But yes, when she is level 6, she can actually kind of match into the Zeri quite well because of the permanent Q passive being applied to her auto attacks the entire duration. As Venom finding an invade of himself here.
Kiwi's gonna spot this out, but with Simo up on the top side grabbing those grubs, I don't think it's gonna come to too much.
Oh,
Venom
he
does
had a
have
chance
this
to
mic,
miss
so
it.
will grab that. Kiwiism does not manage to steal, and is just gonna force Venom to back off here. This is the true supportal combat. Just play aggressive in the face of the jungler. But Alistair, yeah, like you said, in trouble. Venom is already here. Flash in Cyclone! Solo kill for Venom. Not even a chance for Eclipse and Verticality to help out. No need. They'll just pick up some plates instead.
So this is an issue here. I mean, is support Karma gonna solo kill the jungler?
No, not with Eclipse in the area.
Anyways, actually does steal the big Krug there. But regardless, in the meantime, while Kiwi is 1v1ing the enemy jungler, Alistair is no HP under tower, losing a bunch of minions because he is trying to defend the red by himself. And it just means Alistair gets killed solo by the Wukong once the Wukong gets there. And Mint. I mean, this is a big issue, right? Like, you have to respect where your wave state is on the bot side of the map, especially with an AD carry who doesn't have a lot of HP left and kind of needs the support here because the Yunara outranges the Zeri quite hard, right? They have better innate sustain. It's actually, speaking of Transcendent State.
It's Transcend. Kiwiism is in the area, though, so Verticality is going to be forced to continue the fight. Lightning crash down for Alistair. Now Verticality a little bit too far forward, stuck in the 1v2. Your support's nowhere nearby, making the same mistake Alistair did earlier. And Alistair will be the one to pick up the scraps. 80 carries and play it aggressive when their support is in the area. Name a more iconic duo.
Hey, support's pretty good. Turns out.
Supports are helpful.
From Kiwi behind, or not Kiwi, never saw.
Yeah, King Koney, the one in trouble, is going to pop the grand challenge onto Simo, but just for the extra movement speed, as never saw, is just going to dash forward, not even wait out the charm for the parry, just hits the dash, hits the Foxfire, and says, thank you very much for the kill, I'll head back mid now.
Hey, yeah, great. And actually catches this entire wave, so actually missed nothing for that. Insane, to be honest. Absolutely insane. Gets every single CS in that wave as well. My god.
Yeah, this never saw person. She's kind of good at the video game. I don't know if we're noticing this.
Can we yeet never saw, please? This is ridiculous. Regardless,
she's too good. She's too good.
Regardless, yeah, great teleport there, and misses nothing. So it is literally just a full winning play. As actually up in experience here on the rise, thanks to the kill, and it's up CS as well. Speaking of CS, even though Fiora got that solo kill on the top side, she's still struggling in the CS department, right? Like, that's kind of something that she's struggling with really difficult now, or really hard with right now, is King Koney utilizing this teleport shield to get a great trade.
What you do with it? I like the play. Manages to get the knock-up away from Koney as well. Gets away from the riposte. And this is kind of something similar that we saw in Game 1, but in Game 1, Kodiak had the counterpick, the Renekton into the Ambessa. This time, Koney opted into this particular matchup, Fiora as the counterpick to the Zehen. And Kodiak is still coming out with a fairly sizable lead, even after giving up that first blood solo kill.
Yeah, I really liked their Jax ban to help the Zehen. Also kind of telegraphed that this was going to be a Zehen angle, because Jax is his hardest counter in top lane. So... regardless, it is paying off considering King Koney on this Fiora, who they get the first blood, is still down and is now under threat, under tower against 3 members here from Mint, but look at the collapse from
Koney. The pack comes in, the hounds are hunting down the Fiora, but Venom's in the area. Koney will still fall as Simo is going to be able to dodge out from that tower shot. Never saw picks up the first kill. Can they look to trade back a little more? 1 dash left on that Spirit Rush, but with the health bar on Kodiak, they're not going to opt in for it and just take the free dive. Nicely played by Mintus. Codeine walked up a little bit too far forward. Kodiak flashes the flash and picks up the knock-up alongside the kill. Has the revive passive on as well, so it's just continuing to play this under tower. With the wave coming in, there's a chance that Zehen will not even have to tank the turret. Beautifully played by Menthol Light.
Yeah, I mean... that's going to be the first passive proc here. Grim Deliverance is about to secure the kill onto Codeine, and Codeine walks a little too far forward, disrespects the Zehen. 1, 1, and 2 now. After getting first blooded up almost 20 CS. Or actually, yeah, almost 20 CS. As now here in the bot lane, it's actually started to kind of just chill out here for Mint's bot side, who was struggling quite a bit, but an interesting purchase here. The Yuntals on the Yunara, not very popular. Usually you see something like the Kraken or Bork paying off.
Say,
But
I'm a big Yuntal fan. I think this item is really good and it's kind of just criminally underbought as a first item. The amount of stats it gives you for a first item purchase is pretty nuts. You have to stack up the crit, obviously, but like 25% crit, 40% attack speed, 55 AD. There is no item that gives you all three of those stats. It's just really good.
Oh, Alistair!
As Alistair flubs the dash, has to burn the flash, even with the shield from Kiwiism, as Verticality burned the ultimate. Nice little auto attack reset there. And Alistair feeling the pain on that one, at the very least a little bit.
I mean, this is another thing, like, I don't know what you're doing without your support. Like, you are solo Zeri in a 1v2. You are not
carries
winning
and
that
walking
early.
up without their supports. Name a more iconic duo.
Koney will actually get a positive trade there.
Parry in from King Koney, looking for the all-in with the grand challenge here. Does get all 4 procs instantaneously, but there's the Grim Deliverance. Kodiak just out-sustaining the fight. Turn in the bottom lane is going to fall thanks to the pressure from Venom. Kodiak still trading here. That Sundered Sky plus the Grasp, a huge amount of healing. This hand is just so hard to take out a lane.
Yeah, I mean, Grim Deliverance as well, giving you damage reduction means... Well, it doesn't work against true damage, because nothing reduces true damage, but regardless... Still able to sustain himself, as you said, both with the Q passive heal Sundered Sky, Grass procs coming through, his E also heals him. So he is a classic Darkin.
224 health back on an auto. That's absurd.
Yeah. As it turns out, as they're also once again pressuring Koney off of this wave. So Koney on this Fiora, struggling to get scraps here, as the pressure from Mint continues to mount on the top side, as they will take down this Rift Herald. Now, second Drake did go over to first boss, so they are on track for a very quick soul. That being said, can they hold on to that Drake lead? Because as the game starts to open up, we're going to see team fighting a lot more happening. It's only 15 minutes in, but the game is opening up here. As actually,
Verticality. Steamo looking for a potential dive over the wall. Has to get away from the tidal wave of Eclipse. A nice little dodge out there. Verticality will survive it and has the Transcendence on it. Kiwi is a little late to the play, stuck inside the Raptor pit, as Sivo could kind of just hop over it. Just forced to say, hey, I'm here, I'm helping, and then walks away.
Yep. They do force out the ult, but it will be back before Dragon, hopefully, here for first boss.
Are these AD carries going to build the same itemization? Is it just going to be the Yuntal into the Fiend Hunter bolts for both of them?
That would be interesting. Now, I will say that if it is, both champions utilize it very well. Zeri, of course, really bound to her ultimate in terms of like doing a lot of damage in team fights, or just in a 1v1, right? Just in general, it just gives her so much extra damage. And the move speed is nice as well. Yunara, on the other hand, not so bound by it, if you think about it, right? Like, she's really not... She doesn't really need it, but it does help. Like, her first 3 auto burst with it is insane once she pops her ultimate. But she's not really as bound to needing the damage, because a lot of the work is done by her Q auto attack in general.
Yeah.
That she doesn't actually need that added damage, but
for it.
The ability haste is quite nice, and now it's looking like a 4-man rotate here up to Alaskan Kodiak, who...
They want to punish Kodiak. He's got the Deliverance. The passive, I think he's actually off of cooldown now, as we'll just be forced to walk away. TP in from Neversaw as well, not wanting to let that dive go off unscathed in the top side. And the Dragon not up for another 5 minutes. I don't think there's any reason for them to have pressured that so hard, so I think getting the TP out of Neversaw feels pretty alright for Final Boss. You're okay with that play?
Yeah, they might lose their bot tower with this as well, though, which means they're actually going to be on the losing end, because they got nothing out of the top lane safe for a teleport, which will be back up before anything important.
Herald dies before it goes down, so the Herald only gets 1 charge, and I think the turret doesn't actually even go down. Even with 3 Grubs? Man, Grubs are really weak this season. That's
Grubs
absurd.
suck. Grubs suck, because Crystalline Overgrowth is just so good, but Koney now baited here.
A little bit too far forward. Call of the pack coming through. There's the Realm Warp.
Oh!
Kodiak, though, cancels it out. Pulls him back in. Get over here. Takes the kill and hands it to Simo.
Man, the last second. And one thing that actually hurts Rise so much is the fact that because of the change to his ultimate, you can't really run very far away from it and then have it predict you walking into it to teleport yourself away. You kind of actually need to stay inside the ult. Because if you're not inside the ult after the change they made to it to make it a bit more clear for players, you don't get teleported. So it doesn't register your movement towards the portal at all. It will literally just, if you're in it, you're going. If you're not, you're not taking the portal. So, and that's kind of a issue Rises now have to respect. This Kiwi!
Walking too far forward, the bubble connects, and so does the tidal wave. Kiwi's enforced the flash wave, but Verticality has a lethal tempo stack that is firing away. The orbs cutting them down, but now Verticality the one in trouble. The barrier not doing enough. Simo with the darkened daggers will cut through the health bar. Kodiak trying to continue the follow-up, looking for a dive on Eclipse. Good Nervalence, a little bit off kilter there, just forced to use it as an escape. Alongside that Mega Blast Cone will walk the heck out of that turret. And it's a 1-for-1 trade, but support for AD carry, I think Menthol Light is happy to take that all day.
Well, it's M600. It's actually fighting continues.
Alistair just fully left that place, said, alright, you know what, Kodiak, you got that. I got a recall. I'm out of here. Has the Fiend Hunter Bolts, and Verticality does as well. It will be second item Fiend Hunter Bolts for both the ADCs.
They are building basically the exact same items. Like this.
It's going to be IE third, right?
This will be IE third, guaranteed for both AD carries. Which, interesting stuff coming through. Not really something you see very often from Yunara. Again, right? Building the Yuntals is not very common on her. And I think a reason why Yuntals stopped being so good is because Drake fights have gotten so prevalent.
Yeah.
So you usually don't have the crit stacked up fast enough before, so usually AD carries that can spike a little bit earlier than the Yuntals, right, actually offers them. It's been doing a little bit better. Nonetheless, still a good item though, as you mentioned, as Zeri, uses it very, very, very well. The additional attack speed you get as well once you hit a champion gives her more attack speed for her Q, of course, which is all of her damage, so she'll be happy.
And after a certain point, it just starts translating into AD as well. You can't overcap on that attack speed without getting something back out of it.
That's true.
Simo looks for a play in the mid lane here, just gets a little chunk out of Eclipse, but not too much else. Verticality just trying to force this darkened dog pack away from their turret, but even with Venom in the area, I think trying to hold this is a bit rough. Tidal Wave used, but it's just defensive. Venom looked for an angle, but just didn't see the possibility for the Cyclone there.
Yeah, Ooh, Simo gets that. And it's actually going to be able to get... Oh, actually they're going!
All the pack looking in onto Verticality, but it instantly burns the Transcendence and hops away. Eclipse eating a ton of damage off of that bleed. Black Cleaver plus the Eclipse means so much extra bleed comes through. Verticality now potentially in trouble as Neversaw's in the area looking for the charm. Manages to land it, but it's not on the exact right target, but still has the burst to take down Verticality. Chases him down. Venom now the one in trouble as Neversaw's going to get the Order Deception through, but not the second half. So Venom will survive for now. Trying to dive in under turret, but versus that Cyclone, a very risky prospect. But Neversaw follows up. Shut that over to Eclipse, but Neversaw picks up a double kill. Huge for the Ahri, managing to dash away from that. And Menthol Light continue to press the advantage.
And it's a teleport from Koney in here, so a lot of things going wrong for Final Boss once again in this match. As King Koney forced to use, find Alistair.
Right into the hands of Alistair, and the charm's going to connect Neversaw over the wall, making sure that Alistair can pick that kill up. This is just beautiful stuff from Menthol Light.
Yeah, I mean, this game much closer, right? Final Boss, not playing as
a much better early game from them.
Much better early game, but it's all falling apart here again for Final Boss. Like, they're kind of just getting completely outplayed, right? The Ahri has outroamed this Rise on multiple occasions. 5-0-1 here on the Ahri. That's 60% kill participation. Simo, 80% kill participation here for himself on the Nefiri, mind you. And it is translated here to such a massive swing towards Ment, and if it's anything like last game, Ment having control of this game, they're not going to relinquish it anytime soon, if at all. as they're up 5,000 gold here. 6,000
Now-
gold almost.
Now, Ozzy, I feel like I say this every single time that Chemtech Soul comes up. Do you know how good the individual dragons from Chemtech Dragons are? The tenacity on its own is pretty decent, but the heal and shield power is just a stat you don't get to build very often. It's really effective on all 5 members of Mint Menthol Light here. Effective on the Karma for giving them out. Even for Zeri, the extra tenacity is super useful to not get caught by the root, the bubble for as long. Zehen benefits from both.
Codeine.
Zemo benefits from both, and Codeine is going to be on the receiving end of that benefit as they're looking for a bit of a fight here. The Realm Warp is going to take both him and Venom to safety. Manages to keep the 2 of them alive, but this is just the pressure that Mint Menthol is able to push out. And now, burning that big ultimate from both Venom and Codeine, they're just going to start the Baron?
Maybe messing around, seeing what vision they have, or at least force them into a weird spot. Won't fully commit on it, which I think is a smart move. I think really no reason to start Baron
Turning
right
back
now.
towards it, though. We do have a trade down here on the bottom side. Kodiak and Koney making the play against each other, but I think that Baron is, at the very least, the vision is being clear. They're threatening it.
Yeah, they are, again, kind of just messing around here a little bit with Final Boss, threatening them really hard around this Baron.
Codine's on vision, and I don't think
Codeine.
he knows,
No.
as Neversaw is just going to walk in, eat a ton of damage. This Rise, with the fully stacked Rod of Ages, is putting in a lot of work, but Alistair now with the ulti on, can they keep it
Neversaw's
up? Can they
TP.
keep the stacks going? Big shields from the Karma, keeping Alistair up on the front line, looking for just a little bit more pressure, trying to keep the ultimate up. It is going to fall off now, so no more Lightning Crash. Codeine looking to trade it back. Big burst from the Arcane Blast, but it's just not enough damage. Codeine has the big shield for the Saras, but Simo sidesteps every single bit of damage and gets the kill over to Neversaw. Beautifully played in a 1v1 by Simo. And it's just baited out so well on the Baron by Mint Menthol Light.
How good is this Rise champ? And he still dies. If he has an actualizer there, everyone is dead. Everyone just gets absolutely deleted. But at the very least, Final Boss, fight back a little bit here, even off the death of their mid laner, and find him in tier 1. Now, do they overstay? Neversaw is wrapped around behind here, does have Spirit Rush available, looking on Divert. Will miss the charm, so that will go wide as... Now, Mint, looking at the Baron here, because of the fact that they are losing tempo. This is a complete tempo death from Final Boss because of that mid play. They overstayed their welcome. And one champion that does Baron very well is actually then a Fury because you can have your dogs tank so you don't take the damage loss. Venom.
He's going to be spotted here. Good warding from Kiwiism and good defense from
steal.
Kodiak.
Nice
Still
charm.
trying to get into the pit, but the charm is going to deny the opportunity to get into the pit. And now the Deliverance will send Venom to heaven. Codeine trying to get out, but with another knock-up, he's just smited away. Koney will manage to pick up a kill with verticality there on a Kiwiism, but how much else can Final Boss get here? 3v4, stuck in the river, trying to navigate their way out. Good CC and good disengage, but how much more do you have in the tank? Simo and a Kodiak trying to chase it down. Neversaw with the movement speed from the passive, trying to get in. Oh, Kodiak flashes in and finds 3 of them, and the dogs can start chasing them down. Simo in a little bit of trouble here. The Ignite ticking away. That's a dead dog. King Koney finds one, and now stuck in the 1v1 with Kodiak with healing. Neversaw is going to chase down Eclipse on the other side of the fight and will pick up an extra kill, and will be gifted over to Neversaw, the Mega Blast Cone, delivering them into the waiting arms of the Ari. An ace for Mint Menthol Light. Not clean, but certainly stylish.
Look, Kodiak's lane phase, you know, wasn't the best, of course, but makes up for it so much in these fights. Multiple times now that he's either canceling out the Rise ult, the knock-up, or the W, or just setting up the team. In general here, the W does so much work here on the side of Mint that they get the 3-man. And yes, Simo does go down, disrespects the Fiora damage just a tad, right? That is kind of an issue, right? Like, sure, the Fiora gets the shutdown, but if you're forcing the Fiora to team fight, she doesn't really get all that much value, right? Like, she's not, like, great in team fights. She's great in the side lane. But because Final Boss are in this position where they're down so much gold that she has to team fight, she's not in a good position. And unfortunately here for Final Boss, Mint continue their trend of keeping their lead and keeping it very hard, as it turns out. But Neversaw also on the Ari doing quite a bit of work. Some mischarms here and there, but You can't hit every single one, which is the unfortunate bit. You are bound to miss some charms, but, great stuff.
Koney is going to be spotted out here. Kiwi isn't forcing the top laner off. But yeah, this is just what we've seen from Menthol Light. When they get a lead, they are very good at snowballing it forward. This is something that they've been accomplished at through the season and are continuing to show that they are good at. This is the third Chemtech Dragon over to them, thanks to Simo grabbing that one up. The Baron just forcing off more pressure from the side lanes. I do also want to point out the AD carries still have the same itemization here. It's going to be Lord Dominic's Regard, 4th item, because of course it is. That item's really good. They gave it the Giant Slayer passive back. But I also want to point out, while we've got a second to breathe here, Simo's going to force Venom away. I say second to breathe. Yeah, Kodiak's fine here in the 1v2. No threat here. This is another 25 stack Magi from Neversaw. This is another near deathless, but now is actually deathless 9-0 and 2 on the Ahri. This is some good stuff.
Yeah, Simo wrapping behind here on the vert here. Same with Neversaw.
Looking for potential all in. The Spirit Rush not finding a ton of value. Now into the backline. The shields are so huge from the Karma. Venom looking for a re-engage with the Cyclone, but not finding enough value. Forced to back off. Koney looking for potential backline access, but the Grim Deliverance into the backline sends Kodiak. Koney now looking for a potential avenue into this fight, but it's just going to get turned on instantly. Forced to flash over the wall in escape. Neversaw flashes forward with the charm. Doesn't manage to find it, but the chunk onto Eclipse will force the Nami back. Messy exchange, a messy scuffle, but Final Boss cannot stop Mint from just marching forward.
Yeah, I mean, Final Boss actually putting up a decent defense, but flash forward for Koney.
Doesn't manage to find a route onto Alistair, though. Neversaw managing to kite this one out. Sending verticality into the team. Koney playing traitor here, but a little bit of verticality. What are we walking on that for? Now the call of the hunt can come through, and Koney is going to be the next one to go. A double kill over to Alaskan Kodiak and clips the next target, but they're going to change it onto King Koney instead. They know that Fiora is the bigger threat in this fight. Simo finds another. Neversaw will chase down the fish and have a little sushi for dinner. Nice sidesteps by the Nami, but stuck in your own base, not able to provide too much of a defense. And Mint continue to just march this game through.
Venom is pushing bot lane here. The health bars are quite low. Like, they actually could have defended this.
From Neversaw, who just recalled to refresh that health bar. First Nexus turret is down. Verticality's still 5 seconds out. Kodin's still another 20. This Nexus is just going to get picked up. Venom can't defend the base alone, and even with Verticality now here, the Transcendence is on. Maybe looking for potential outplay, but just doesn't have the damage or the time. Menthol Light with a clean 2-0 win in Week 5.
I feel like maybe Venom could have defended there instead of shoving out the bot wave, but I don't think it matters, to be honest. Menthol just by far and away showcasing that they're the better team today, easily, in my opinion. Because think about it this way, right? They got a lead in the bot lane, it didn't transfer. They got a lead in the top lane, it didn't transfer. For Final Boss, just so we're aware, just not talking about Mint on this, we're talking about Final Boss. So everywhere that they're getting these advantages, they weren't able to transfer it anywhere. And here we see Venom struggling to have impact 2 games in a row here. The Senzao and the Wukong not really doing much. Whereas on the other side, Simo, Malphite game 1 was absolutely perfect. Game 2, the Nefiri, able to find so many picks off. But I think it's pretty obvious who the MVP is going to be. I think Neversaw 50 Magi stacks. Once it was
across
bought,
2 games,
died,
pretty darn good.
That's pretty insane. Neversaw, I think, had an excellent performance today. Definitely would have served, but realistically, for Final Boss, they have a lot of issues I think they need to talk about, because game 1 was just one massive mistake into just lose the game, which part of their comp, right? Like, the comp was just bound to lose if they lost that early, which is fine. Like, things like that happen. But this game in particular, you had a lead on your Yunara, it didn't transfer. You had a lead on your Fiora, it didn't transfer at all. So that's when you really need to, like, actually dial in and be like, guys, where are we going wrong? Like, what is happening? Because time is running out. And while, yes, you do still have a little bit of time to figure out these issues, it is taking away as
I think
seems like Mint have figured everything out, because they were just so dominant today.
Yeah. I think a loss next week for Final Boss will end up knocking them out of playoff contention, if I'm remembering my math correctly. And I think Mint here have pretty much settled themselves into top 4 with this win, and especially such a decisive win not only the 2-0, but also very fast game times, both of them just around 30 minutes, pretty clinical stuff. And I think if you're a team that's looking at your schedule and saying, hey, we're going to face Mint next week, the week after, even in the last week of the season, you're going to have to start thinking, how are we dealing with SEMO in the draft? The Malphite tank gameplay was really good, but then also showed up really well on Fury the Assassin. How are we dealing with Kodiak, who they've not put a ton of resources towards, but just managed to come out with good wins against a top laner who was very good. King Koney is not a bad top laner in any stretch of the imagination. How are we dealing with Kiwiism and Alistair in the bottom lane, who have shown themselves to be a very proficient 2v2 duo? And the elephant in the room is, are you able to counterpick Neversaw in the mid lane, and are you able to come out even or ahead in any of these matchups?
I think I will say, right, if you're gonna punish Mint anywhere, Kodiak's lane phase has been kind of his weakest point so far this split.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also me looking at AML as well. Like I think his lane phases have been pretty weak this season, which is something he needs to improve on. But that's also something that you can kind of abuse, right? Maybe you pick something like, I don't know, any kind of carry top laner. Fiora is one of them, but like a Camille, right? Maybe you can start ganking Kodiak more, finding
the
some
main
angles
top.
there. This game, right? There was some massive mistakes in terms of like some ideas from like Kiwi where to be, because Alistair completely left out to his own devices just gets dove under his tier 1 while he has no HP, because for some reason Kiwi's trying to 1v1 the Wukong at the red buff instead of just getting the info and then running back to save his to help his AD carry under tower. So like this game overall, Alistair and Kiwi were for sure weak. They really didn't like some mistakes there. Of course, again, it's not the end of the world, right? They won the game. They did eventually stem the bleeding as well. Like despite Alistair going down, losing the CS, it didn't really matter because they were able to just kind of scale. But there are issues. Like there's very obvious weaknesses in the armor here for Ment. Now, granted, even though if Kodiak does have a weak lane phase, he usually does bounce back pretty hard towards the mid game. So if you are going to put pressure onto him, A, you need to make sure it sticks, or B, maybe use your resources elsewhere. Again, maybe looking at this bot lane here for Mint, who, in my opinion, this week maybe not a pretty weak performance overall. Kiwi on the Rakan was really great, but I felt like Alistair was kind of just present in the games, not really participating, just present.
A little bit of a spectator.
Yeah, but that's okay because you only realistically need like 3 people to win the game, and if Neversaw is getting 50 stacks in 2 games on Medjai's, you can kind of just sit back and relax. You don't need to be the carry every single game, Mr.
There's a certain point in team composition where you can really just say, okay, I'm not the carry of this game. I just have to not lose. I just have to, if I am going to lose with grace. I need to make sure I'm not giving the enemy team a chance to win the game, which I think Kodiak in the early game, like we mentioned, rough laning phase, but bounced back really well. Lost early, but with grace. Even Alistair and Kiwiism, yeah, the bottom lane dive was rough. The positioning was a little bit iffy here and there, but didn't end up giving Verticality and Eclipse huge advantages that they could play around. It stemmed the bleeding, like you said earlier, just making sure that Final Boss didn't have something they could actually play through. And I think that's something that Final Boss is going to have to learn coming into next week, and something that Mint is going to have to see if their opposing team will take more advantage of coming into next week. Because like you said, this is a team with weaknesses. They are not an unstoppable force. This is not the four-peating Team Liquid that we're looking at here. They are a team that can be beaten. They have taken losses before. They will take losses again. It's almost assured. You know what? If they go on an undefeated streak from here until finals, that's on me. I jinxed that. But they're a team that has weaknesses that can be beaten.
Yeah, I mean, also, just as well, right? That also doesn't mean they can't fix those mistakes, because it's pretty obvious, right? Like they should know what they're doing wrong, right? And I think Kodiak for sure is just super aware about it, about what's going wrong with his like lane phases. I think he's more than good enough to recognize, hey, my lane phases have been kind of weak this season. So I bet he's going to be working on that, right? Like I bet Alistar and Kiwi, they probably won't make that mistake again, where Kiwi is just leaving his AD carry to die.
I hope not, anyway.
For no reason. Like that probably won't happen again. So just because there are weaknesses this week also might mean some of those weaknesses close up. But that again, that doesn't mean they're completely unstoppable, because if they were, this team is getting all yeeted next season, so I wouldn't worry about it. But regardless, right? For Final Boss, I think Venom has to wake up. This is do or die for you at this point, right? Like Venom on the Wukong, on the Zhenzhou, very minimal impact, basically nothing. And even in that last game, yes, of course, I think the game is over, but you still need to try, right? Like There were so many low HP bars there that I felt like maybe you could have done something, but opts not to. They lose very quickly, and it is Mint who, again, well-deserved victory here, and honestly a great showcase of them potentially heating up for playoff.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how that ends up next week, but that's going to be it from us tonight. I want to thank you all so much for joining us. A little bit quicker of a broadcast tonight, but hey, sometimes teams win 2-0. I've been Witu Britty. That's been Ozzy, our producer and observer, Golden, and Loki, making sure things run as smoothly as possible in the background. We appreciate y'all being here, and we'll see you next week for more Titan Immortal action. Have a good night.